All right. DOM. Lewis, would you want to try to explain what DOM is? How about Lloyd?
Is it a skeleton structure of what a document should be?
Yeah. Anything else?
It gives you like all the classes and all the categories of what makes up
Yeah.
your document.
Okay. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty good. Close to it. Lloyd or Tan, you want to try?
It's basically like that, except it's saved in memory, right? So you can change it simply.
Okay. So you can load it up. Huh? Okay. So guys, when you look at the diagram, what shape is that?
Upside down tree.
Okay, it's a tree, right? Okay. Let's see. If I look at an HTML file, where's my HTML file? What shape is this?
Tree.
Yeah, well, true, it could be a tree, but this is just a text file. It's flat. This is not flat. This is a tree. So, document object model is just a way to basically it's converting your flat HTML file into this tree structure, right? So it's an object because in an object you have properties. So think of it as like each of this is like a node. Inside the node there's some, this node has two children. The first children is head and second children's body. So it's a tree. The tree you always have a node and then the leaves, right? It's just like the body and then the branches. So these are the two branches and it keeps going. Okay, so why does it do it like this? So you can go down the tree or you can get the relationship between them. Let's say, this H1 and this A, this yellow color, they are siblings. Siblings means brother or sister, right? Or the body and the head, they are children of HTML. Any of this node is called an element as well, right? The document is the sort of, it's like this is like God, I guess, the father of the root. But this is the main father, the root element. And then you start having children down the line. Within each node, then you can change the properties inside it. So technically, this is not as, so you have a title and then inside the title, there's one children, there's a text. But in some cases, you have attributes and other things as well. So DOM, HTML DOM, it's very important because that's how we interact with the HTML content. And it's done via JavaScript. Okay? So without JavaScript, DOM is quite useless, really. Right? So DOM is like it provides the API so that you can change the documents with JavaScript. So let me just play with it right here. By now you should click the inspect console very often, right? So I have in here, to start with the DOM thing, I have this thing called document. And document inside it, if I click on it, you can see this is now your whole document right here. And then you can browse it a little bit. Okay? Now document, you have a few methods. These are the JavaScript functions. So document is an object that comes with these JavaScript functions. Any element, let's say, look at this one again. Any of this element, the outside one, ignore the text and the attribute one. So this diagram is not very good. But the thing that say element, you can have some, this is the API, means you have this JavaScript function you can call. Okay? I show some JavaScript function first and then I'll start teaching JavaScript after this. So this is a a sort of like a variable, right? It's an object in just like JavaScript. And then you have this, you have get element by ID is a function. And unlike Ruby, when you press enter, it just tells you what it is. You're not calling the function yet. Okay? So then when you put a parenthesis into the with the function, then that's called calling the function. Right? And obviously this is very standard. You're calling the function with the wrong number of arguments. Sometimes JavaScript actually doesn't complain when you do that. But in this case, they implement this function to complain for you. So let's see if I can find any ID in this document, okay? We can click here and see. Can you guys help me find if there's any ID? If I have any ID at all. Oh my god, I did not. Uh-oh, that's not good. I have 0 ID in here. So it's hard to show you how to use this function. So I'm going to create an ID from HTML page. I'm going to use our local app instead. Shotgun app. And let's try localhost 9393. Now, no one asked me, but did you guys see I'm not using the Elements tab? I'm using the Console tab. So from today, beside the Elements tab, the Console tab is your friend. The Elements tab have the Styles panel, and then the HTML panel is very useful. But the Console tab is the JavaScript panel. This is similar to IRB, but for JavaScript. Okay? IRB, but for JavaScript. So I run this now. I have this, but I want to have an ID so I can learn something about it. So I'm going to add an ID here, okay? Who here remembers what an ID is?
Specifically targets that one.
Yeah, just like giving it a name. Just don't give this same ID to any other element, right? You can give it a class, and then you can reuse the class. So ID, let's try one more time. I have this document, and if I do document by ID heading, so that is the API call, the first one that you try, and it returns you another DOM element. Document is the the God, right, outside the DOM, and then there's a DOM tree underneath it, and you can call it. That's how you get the element. So within this guy, I'm going to call this, give it a variable. So it's very similar to Ruby. So I call this, let's say, my variable h1. And it's a variable. You can name it anything, okay? And please practice using var in front of naming your variable. In Ruby, you don't have it. But in JavaScript, if you don't use it, then you're just defining global variables everywhere. That's not good. So it will still work, but it's just it's better to practice using var. Okay. So, right? So it said that, and let's see, h1. It's also a bit weird compared to Ruby, right? After you run var here, it say undefined here, but technically it already assigned the value to h1. Okay. Now h1, inside h1, then you have other function. So this is part of the DOM API that we can look up. What are the functions I have inside an element? So let me find out. Maybe there's a style. There is a style. For example, style here is a property. And if you, let's say, let's try something here. I have style color red. Okay, pay attention to that. And then you have this, reload this page, and I assign h1 again. h1.style. You guys see color red anywhere? Well, you have a bunch of CSS stuff here, but if you go down to color, and then red. So how do we get that? This is very similar to your hash. It's also similar to your class stuff. In JavaScript, both of them are like the same, but style, you can actually say color. Remember the hash? That is that. Okay? But today we'll learn that JavaScript also allows you to write like this, and you see people do this more. You see that? Red? And here's how you do it in JavaScript. So far you know how to set something CSS in CSS, right? Or in HTML. How you do it in CSS? You just define these curly braces with color red, and then you include the CSS. How do you do it in HTML? You put it inside the style attribute of the DOM element. How do you do it in JavaScript? You have to find the element, which is the H1 thing, and then you can set this to a different color, and that will change. And this is extremely powerful because now you can write JavaScript to move, let's say, this thing, Torello, to a different place on page, to change the color, to make it blink, or just to make it disappear and appear again, right? So there are things that CSS cannot really do because you load it for the first time and it's the same on that page. But JavaScript can always run anytime you want. You can set it like, hey, wait 10 seconds and run it. That kind of thing. Okay? Or if you mouse, if you say, hey, if you mouse the cursor over the done button, right? Change, let's say decrease the color of the page. CSS can do some of that for you, over a button. If you move your mouse over 10 pixels, that's something CSS cannot do. If you drag something from A to B, drag from this into another box, that's something that just CSS cannot do. Okay? So JavaScript is exciting, and this whole box is JavaScript, except here you can only type one thing at a time. So let's start learning JavaScript. That's a preview why it's kind of useful. All right? So we know CSS. We know HTML. Do you know what CSS file we have so far? I have in here app.css. Do you know how to get it from the browser? No, come on, you know this. Yeah, in public folder. So just go /css/app. This is just the the Sinatra convention. Now, do you think we can run this? No, the browser only lets you run an HTML page. So similarly, I have an app.js file. So I do app.js, yeah? Uh-oh. That's not JS, right? This? Look, I have a bunch of JavaScript. Do you think I can run this? So on the client side, this is called client-side JavaScript. You cannot just run a JavaScript file directly. The JavaScript file needs to be run on some page. That's called the context. A context here, it may mean like background for you. It has to be run from somewhere that I know what a document is. You cannot just run JavaScript without a document. You cannot have a document without actually opening an HTML file. So that's why. So we need to include it. Okay? So I create a new project because this is too much. This is very confusing. So I'll create a new project. Let's create another one here. Lecture, right? 3, right? -1. -1. So this lecture, right? I create a folder. Very quickly, by now all of you should be used to this now. There's a gem file, there's an app.rb, and then there's a views folder, right? And there's a public folder. And then you're like, okay, it shouldn't be inside there. You drag it out. And in here, I'm gonna have maybe a JavaScript folder to have, this is the JavaScript file. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna delete that. It's just nicer to organize in a JavaScript folder. Of course, it's up to you. But I'm gonna say maybe demo1.js, okay? I'll just call it A1. And the view file, gem file here, who here remember how to type it? Ruby gem, that's it, right? Gem Sinatra, there's also gem shotgun if you like, unfortunately only on Mac and Linux. And that's it over here. We do get, we need to require Sinatra or require bundler setup, bundler.require, do here, and I'm going to use the file I need to use a file. I cannot return a string here. That's too complicated to type, to include the JavaScript. Okay, you can do hello world, but it's very hard to include JavaScript. If you want, you can type like script equal blah blah blah, but that's too much. So I'll use an index.html file. That looks good, right? So I need to create an index HTML file. .erb. And one thing at a time, please. Don't try to do too many things. You know, I will just make sure that my setup is good. So I type, you know, shotgun app.rb, and then I troubleshoot. Yeah. Well, there's no. I kind of have it installed already, so you can, you know, that's a good call. And sometimes you need to do it. I have it already. I just have. Here's the problem. I keep having the shotgun. You know, this. You can go to the task manager and kill it. I just kill it right here. So let's run shotgun again. All right. One thing at a time. So always make sure that what you wrote is enough to get you to do something, right? Now there's the element we learned today is script. Okay. You ready for some JavaScript? Inside script, you could write some JavaScript. You can say console.log hello world. Where do you think this will go? In the console. This is called your console. So I'm going to run it, and you see hello world in here. Okay? What's another way to print to screen?
Alert.
Yes, thank you. So you could say, what's up, right? And when I reload, that is the second way to print to screen. Okay? I'm going to show you the third way. What do you think a third way could possibly be? Where else can I print?
On the document.
Holy cow, on the document itself. That would be cool. Document.write. Huh? But this time, you need to write HTML, please, right? So, right? Let's see. And then you run it. What's up? And then you'll get added to this page too. Okay?
Quick question. When you do alerts, there's another box that pops up.
Yeah.
What does that box signify?
It's this. So this is the browser API, and then this box is it's called you know, it's just an alert pop. You know, it's like a pop-up native to the browser.
Like a little brief description of whatever.
Yeah. So there will be like the text description here, and normally there's either OK or OK and cancel.
Right. Because I see it on some websites that it'll pop up and it'll say like, oh, error loading page or error.
Yeah.
Something of that nature.
It's some websites actually implement it themselves. You can implement other alerts yourself, but a lot of times you can just use the browser one like this. If you use the browser one, some browser would display them differently. So I don't know about Safari. No, Safari may be similar, but you know, Internet Explorer will be different. You see how they are completely different. Yeah, it's just the styling of that browser. Okay, so there's another one though. Like, what if I want to change? Remember, we learned that there's this H1 element. So what if I give it the heading, and then in fact I can just say var H1 is document dot get element by ID. I'm going to practice over here first. All right, H1 is okay. You know, in the console here, if you don't type var, nothing bad's gonna happen. So it's okay. All right, so heading. I have that. I need to reload. I hate that alert. All right, so you have H1, right? And now H1, you can even do something like, what is it in here? That's text content, right? You can change that too. So that's the fourth way for you to write to the screen. You don't write new stuff, but you change existing text. You normally don't change this, by the way. You actually change this. It's called h1.inner, either inner text or inner HTML. You will see these two more often. The text one, it means it has to be just text. The inner HTML means it can be another HTML element. Okay? All right. So that's JavaScript. I still don't know what's up. Like I just see that this is a function. This is an object, not a function name, and then it passes in a string. At least I now know Ruby. I know what's a string. That's good. I know what looks like a method, and in Ruby is a method, but in JavaScript it's a function. In JavaScript, most of the time we do want to use semicolon there. It works without, but the problem is a lot of the code base is all using it, and if you don't, sometimes you may run into certain issues that this line continue with this line, you don't know, especially the if statement, right? So let's just have a good habit. Let's put the semicolon here. Fortunately for you, you can install an extension that automatically adds the semicolon for you, so it's not a big deal. I have it. All right, so that's one way to include JavaScript, but I'm not going to do it this way. It's boring. It's not nice. We do it using a source. How did we improve our CSS? With CSS, in your HTML, you normally do this, right? Style, and then you improve this. You say H1 heading color red. Remember this? And then you're like, well, I'm going to move this whole thing to a style folder. Very similar, right? So I'm going to call it a CSS folder because this is JavaScript and CSS. Shorter name, CSS folder. And then I move it to, let's say, app.css. All right, and I move that here. Remember that refactoring? But in style, you actually don't put this style source. You put something else. It's called link. And then this is CSS/app.css. Do we remember how to move CSS to a file? You have to use the link rel style sheet. Okay, for JavaScript it's easier. You're gonna bring some JavaScript here. Console log dot hello world here. Console.log hello world. To move it, all you have to do is remove stuff in there. And then you're going to say, go to this place for me, /javascript/a1.js. Where's a1.js? It's here, right? And then you go in here and add your code, right? So I'm going to say, hello world from a1.js. Sounds good? One more time with the index. All right, you see I'm using the script tag, and I'm going to start writing code in a1.js there. Hello world from a1.js. So by now, you have an advantage. You know Ruby, so it's the sort of the standard data type you already know. It means number, multiply, and such. They're all the same. Power in Ruby is like 2 to the power of 5 like this. In JavaScript, it's different. So you probably have to do like, what's that? JavaScript, math, power, and then I think it's like a power function. That's the difference. Just little things like that you have to Google. Right? How to square a number? That's easy. That's like this power of 2, so I guess that's not too bad. But if you need to like do power 5 instead of doing this, you're gonna do math.pow, right? And let's say, what is the API called? Base and opponent. So let's say math.pound 9 to the power of 5. Is that like that? Yeah. So for example, 2 to the power of 5 is 32. So you definitely just Google, right? Like for each one of that. It's very language specific. So that's it. Simple math stuff, number, we're okay with that? String. So again, please remember this var thing. But I have name, let's say, go to school. And how do we do hello, go to school? Instead of Ruby, put something there. You will say hello, right? Very similar, plus name, that will be hello, go to school. Instead of put, you tend to write, console.log, and then that will print out hello, go to school, right? What other data structure that we learn that we are interested in having? Boolean. Yeah, Boolean. So is that true and false? Oh, that's good. All right. Let's say if I do this, oh, that's bad. That looks reasonable. So I have true and false, and it's the same thing. You use the equal sign. To be honest, this is where some of you will hate JavaScript or you will hate me. There is this sign too, but you will see a lot of code base they may use this because it's more like equal. Do you see that? How is that possible? Right? In Ruby, you write this, it will be false, but in JavaScript, it just convert everything to string and it will be true. That's not cool, right? So sometimes people like to do, I like to compare it like that to prevent problems. Okay? But obviously, if you write a program that you feel like, okay, I just compare like this, don't rely on this, okay? If you're really comparing with a number, then you want to, parse, convert. There's a parse in function, which is like toInt in Ruby, and then pass in a number, and then it give you an integer. Then you compare. It's a lot clearer. Please don't rely on this. And then one day, it will backfire. Yeah. In the lab, you get some interesting cases as well. So I'll let you have fun. This whole thing is really messed up. Right? There's a lot of JavaScript gotchas that's really fun all over the internet. What else? Boolean. So you use Boolean a lot, and in this if statement, make sure you have the parentheses and make sure you have this. You don't have it, it still work, but it's just sometimes it doesn't do what you want because it will just look really strange. It will run only one statement, and then a lot of people make this mistake in C as well. So what should be required is this parenthesis should always be there. Okay. So let's say A is user. Let's say A is coder, and B is also coder, and then you say A is B. Then you can say console log A and B are the same, right? And then close, and then you run that. No big deal. It's easy, right? If else. There's no else if, but just if else. So it's all curly braces now. There's no begin or end. Are you curious about any other data structure? Array. Thank you. So I have an array. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it still works the same way. That's good, right? In fact, the console here is really cool. You can click into things. You can see some private stuff in it too, like there's a concat method, and yeah, so okay, that's array for you. Anything interested about an array?
Hash.
Come again?
Hash too.
Yeah, it's not called hash. It's called an object. Object, not hash. So we'll get to hash to object very soon. Anything you want to do with an array? Convert to string?
Yes.
Convert an array to string? What do you mean? Yeah, so I guess, is there a toString method? Like you could say JavaScript array to string. Like what do you expect to see it? So there's a toString method. Okay, then you can do like maybe a.toString, like that. And again, if you type this, it will just show you that that's a valid function. And it just convert to that. Okay? Oh, any object will have a toString method. Array is just an object. Okay, Kui?
Yes.
plus, oh, check this out. You guys gonna love it. B is 5 and 6. What is A? What is B? What is A plus B?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right? Welcome to JavaScript, ladies and gentlemen. Did you see that? They just convert both to string and then just put them together. Even better, you want to see an array and you want to plus an element to it? Oh crap. You want to take a number and plus an array to it? Everything will work for you. Yeah? It's a bit random, isn't it? Okay? And then anything else? Anything you can want to do with array, obviously that failed. So to combine two arrays together, there's a method called concat. Then you get them. Okay, concatenate. Ah, good question. How can we loop through an array? How do you do it in Ruby? Each. But inside each we have a block, right? A block is like a method, isn't it? Similar to that def thing? Yeah? So before we can do loop, we can, let me see, we can learn a function. Because then we say each and then we call a function. So that's one way. Yeah?
Each function.
So there's, this is how you define a function in JavaScript. Hello, console.log, hello, and close it. Who doesn't know how to write a function? That's easy, right? Hello now is a function that if you type it, it just displays the code. If you call hello, it'll work and print it hello, right? If you call hello with 1 argument, 2 argument, 3 argument, it doesn't care. That's another fun stuff. It just doesn't care, right? You have to check it yourself. All right, so I have a way to define a function. You guys can see how I define a function? Reads this like C. So let's say I do each, okay? Array a.forEach. For each is another, like, you know, the native JavaScript built-in library provide you. This is only in the new browser, and it makes life a lot easier. They learn from the new languages. So you take an argument, but in here I pass in a function. Okay, that's new. You don't pass in a function in Ruby. So Ruby doesn't have function, it's just method. But in JavaScript, you pass in a function. So here's the function. You can pass in hello. Whoa. Right? And then I press enter. And then it's actually printing hello 4 times. Remember A? 1, 2, 3, 4. So one more time. A.forEach. You pass in hello. It will call hello for you 4 times. That's not cool. I want to see what's inside. But hello doesn't take any element. So I define another thing called function print element, okay? But I take one argument called E, and I say console.log, E is E. And I just close that. So I can print element, I say print element, take anything, like 1, print 1, print 1, print 1. It can print anything, basically. Make sure that it's valid. You cannot print, like, you know, this. Then you say, I don't know what that is. Alright, so you understand what print element does? It's a function that takes one argument and print. Now I say a.forEach. I say print element. Are you ready? And then it prints. That's quite beautiful, isn't it? Some of you may say, oh, that's not fun. I have to do it twice, like 2 things. After I type the function print element, I forget what I need to do. I forget that I have to get back and do for each. No problem. A.forEach. You can write a function here yourself, and this is a function that doesn't have any name. This is an anonymous function. So it's like that. Obviously, this function does nothing, so if you do this, nothing happens. If this function say console.log, hey, then it will just print that how many times? 4 times. But if you take an argument E, then you can print E here, and then you can see it, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the same as .each. Okay? So here's a secret. Out of, let's say, 10 JavaScript programmers out there, maybe 3 of them still don't know this for each. It's a bit new, maybe. So what do they know? They know for loop. They know the C way. I think Louis knows this very well. Louis, would you like to do a for loop? For I equals 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. Then do that, and then console. I think Gui is smiling right now because this is something that she knows very well. All right. Okay. So for loop it's a very special syntax. It has 3 parts in there. The first part is there's the defining variable. You can define as many things you want. A1, B2, C3, I don't care. The second part is when you stop. Okay? So for example, A plus B plus C is this is while A plus B plus C is still greater than less than 10, then I run it. Okay? And the third thing is what do you do each time? So for example, in this case, I say A will get increased by 1. This plus plus, but it's like plus equal 1. That's it, yeah? Maybe B get increased by 2 and C get increased by 3. Okay, that function looks a bit difficult. Okay? So it's like, and then I don't even know if it's gonna work, but we'll see. Console.log ABC, ABC. I love console.log because you can give as many arguments as you want. It prints everything. That's kind of nice, no? So 1 plus 2 plus 3, it prints out the first time, but after that, it becomes too big. So it stopped. Okay? If I run this method one more time with a bigger number like 100 maybe, like 50. Okay, let's try. Then you see that it will continue to run it. One more time. The first one is defining something. The second one is while the condition is true. And the third one is what? What do you do after each step, each iteration or each loop? So tell me, which one is easier to use, for or for each? You prefer for each? Yeah. Because why do you have to carry so many variables? So this is my A. The old way is like this. Var I is 0. I less than a dot length. Right? And I plus plus. You will do this all like a lot. And this is the most stable way. This works with all the browser. For each now works with most, maybe except IE6. So who cares, right? So, but yeah, that is the old school way. And to some of you, you may like it. Some others, they don't. Okay? Because sometimes you just, oh, why is it not printing anything, guys? Is it printing? Yeah. A dot length. Uh-oh. Oh, A is now a number. You see, this is really dangerous. I didn't use var. A is a number, and it keeps increasing A until 9 here. What I had earlier was this A is different. Oh. So this is my A. Where's my A? 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. Anyway, A is, I'll do this again. A is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I run this one more time. All right. So you do this sometimes too, but having to remember I, if you do I and J, and that can be, that lead to pretty bad code. So okay, so we have looping. Who asked for that looping? Like each, done, right? Anything else you want to ask for? Range. Yes, but only the new JavaScript. It's a bonus task, but it's technically there's no range, unfortunately. But this is like advanced stuff, so I don't think you like, I don't even remember off the top of my head. I thought this is an array of 20 guys. The key should be a method. Yes, you can make a range, but it's a bit tricky, so forget about it. Unfortunately, you can Google JavaScript range, and it's something like this. Okay.
So if I can define methods, can I also define something equivalent to classes?
Right. So JavaScript doesn't really have classes, right? You will read something called prototype and such. For our purpose, we're gonna treat everything similar to objects, to hashes, that Ruby hash. So that is hash. So let's learn hash. Here's a person. How do you do a hash in Ruby? Symbol and key, right? Yeah? Oh wait, sorry. Symbol is the key and this is the value. This will not work in, well, it works here, but please don't use it. This is not the right way to do it. It support that, but we just do it the string way, the way that it's understand normally. So you can type very similar to the above. It would work, but normally in your code you probably like write like this. So what is it here? Very similar to your Ruby hash, except this person thing. In Ruby, the only way for you to do it is with key, right? Do you see this object word? So JavaScript, object is like a lot of things are object, and inside object you can have these keys thing. They are called properties. And so a person, not just you can do person name, it works. You can do something similar to class. This is not something we do with Ruby, right? So JavaScript object is used everywhere, and it can be really, really powerful because you can use the dot everywhere. That is a person, but let's say you have a classroom, okay? So let's say you have a classroom, then, teacher. Let's say you have students, and then you can say students a list. I can't press enter, huh? Let's try again. Teacher, students here, right? And then here's another list, right? Like that. And in this student list, I can have like that. This will be name of the student. So Louis, right? Age 21. It's really powerful. And then another, I'll just call this, oh my god, what happened there? Here. I think I just deleted that by mistake. My bad. Let's make this bigger. Okay. Unfortunately, that was deleted by mistake. Let's try again. This like this. And another one like this will be Oscar. I closed the array. You guys see that? And I closed the thing. So this object can be nested and nested over and over again. And this is what happens when JavaScript is working with an API backend. You go and you go to a page that need to display all the movies to watch. You will get like movies, the name and a title, and then your JavaScript code will write HTML and print them. Yeah? Yes, that's the powerful part. In Ruby, a hash cannot, unlike inside a hashes, you can't really say this hash is a function there. You can call a hash, the key is a string, but the value can be another object, and in that object you can call a function. But in JavaScript, you can give it. Here's the classroom already. Like let's look, classroom.teacher. It's a lot easier to type, right? classroom dot students, and then you see the first student, so then dot Lewis. So it feels very similar to that name. Feels very similar to classes. So your question there is that can classroom be what's that? Can classroom contain a function? This happens all the time. Here's a classroom. How do you want to display your classroom? So let's say I define classroom.display equals function. Alright? So for now I say display classroom. I don't display anything crazy yet, right?
Wait, so a function is actually
A property?
a function is actually the property of the classroom.
Yeah, so in this case, if you look at classroom, you type it again, you look into it, you have display is a function, students in the array, and then teacher is a string. And if you call classroom.display, it will say I'm a function, but if you call it, it will run it, display classroom, and it can get pretty crazy because you can replace this word display with display classroom. You can print out this dot teacher and this dot students. And now classroom.display will print this for you. So the word this is referring to the object classroom. This is just for understanding. There will be exercises that get into this. In Ruby, that will be self dot, but it's in a class. You cannot really do it in a hash. So for our class, for our Ruby class, for this bootcamp class, when we use JavaScript, so a lot of it is we define this object and then we can add a lot more properties to the object. Sometimes a property can be a function, or sometimes it can be just a key with a regular value like this. Teacher, students, okay?
You can divide easily like that and accidentally override if there's a display property already.
Yeah, if there's a display property already, well then you override it, yeah. But earlier when I did that, classroom.display, I don't know. So right now this is our code, right? You can type that method without running it, so you can be very sure does it have it or not. Person, let's say person is name Justin. Then you can say person.display is anything. Oh, nothing. And you can define it. But it's crazy, right? You don't see errors very much. Huh? Okay? I think the preview gives you a little bit of a taste of JavaScript. And what you do next is that I'll ask you to create this structure. Create each file like this. So say a1.js like this, and then your HTML just load that file. And then you just run the file by pressing refresh and then run it. But when you want to practice, don't hesitate to play with it here. For example, I ask you to create a 2 array and I ask you to combine them together. And then you do this, right? What's that? A plus, you say console.log, A plus B should be, and then I display A plus B here and I run it, okay? And I run that and I see, oh, it's not working. A1.js, is it here? Oh. So when you refresh, if you don't see anything, you might want to do Command-Shift-R or Control-Shift-R because the file is cached by the browser. So there's a way to tell the browser not to cache, but I'll show you later. So you see that it's not correct, right? Then you practice. You're like, okay, A, B, what is it that, then you Google, and then you realize that, oh, it's A concat B. Then you go here and implement A concat B. So these variables, and again, I strongly recommend that you have a habit of doing var in front of them. Okay? So then when you run down, you still have AB. Oh, that looks good. Please go on. Okay, so that some of the exercise here will be familiar to you. Go through these ones, and if you're stuck at any point, don't hesitate to ask. I hope some of these screenshots will be useful. So if we all get finished today, then it'll be really, really good. Any question? No? Are you sure? You sure now? Okay. Then let's take a break, and we still have lunch from 12 to 1. But between now and then, you can start warming up to take 5 minutes break and then finish the JavaScript exercises.